they basically said like, I don't think we can get this land. I'm like, what do you mean? Like this other person, they bought it from the grandma. They want to
Yeah.
sell it. Obviously, they listed it. They're like, this other person is a local criminal. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean? I went with my wife and newborn son to a local coffee shop today. And it was just supposed to be a lunch, nothing fancy. I'm sitting there and I see like a foreigner, kind of a foreign guy passing into the shop as well. You know, you make that first glance. I'm anticipating the gaijin nod, maybe
Yeah.
like, oh, you're foreign too.
Shall we
But
explain?
actually, he keep,
Shall we explain what a gaijin node is?
well, yeah, gaijin nod is when one foreigner sees another foreigner and slightly bow to each other to acknowledge each other's existence. It's a common thing out here in the inaka of Japan, and I've seen it a few times. But that was not what happened this time because he kept looking at me, and I was like, I can't recall this man's face from just one glance, but if I keep staring at him, he might think I know him or I'm crazy. But I just kept looking and I was like, well, this person, I know him. And then it happened to be somebody that I've worked with in the past when in Tokyo. Like I've met this person and I know this person by name. And then kind of we exchanged the shock. We talked a little bit. And apparently, just like me, he moved to Yamanashi recently. In his case, it's about a year and a few months ago, I think. I only moved like since February, so I don't know how many months is like 4 or 5 months in June now. So I get to talking. He's renting in some nearby area, and he's looking for land, and he's looking to buy land, and that really brings to memory my experience of buying land here in Yamanashi. So I basically, he's one guy. It's maybe a coincidence, but he's not the first person that I've met from Tokyo that is actually within my circle. So, you know, 2 people, 3 people, it's the trend. I've been in Japan for a little bit over 10 years, and I've always wanted to move outside of the busy city. I've always lived in cities majority of my life, but didn't have the confidence. Fortunately, a few, say like a year ago, I would say, this idea of buying land and building a house kind of came to my wife and I. And that's kind of how this whole journey started. And you, who might you be?
Yeah, I am a former Japanese resident. We actually met. When was that? Must have been 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, it's when I
Yeah.
picked you up at the cafe.
Yeah, yeah. So we met in Tokyo, and since then I moved back to Australia. But one day I'm hoping to be back and also build a small house in Japan, in the countryside. So, but for the time being, I'm just living vicariously through your wonderful experience.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what they say. You can leave Japan, but Japan doesn't leave you.
Yeah, exactly. They say that.
So,
Okay.
so basically, today, I think a really good starting point is land. Because without land, you can't build a house. There's many things that go into it. And in addition, like I was thinking about who would like to know this information. I think there's a lot of recent foreign interest of buying like old Japanese used houses and renovating them. The land and the houses are so dirt cheap. Like,
Yeah.
why is that? Those are some maybe good questions to answer. But everything should circle around kind of the land because the topic in itself is huge, and my experience looking for it and buying it was
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 fascinating, to say the least.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was something else.
Well, let's start
So
there. Let's start there. Let's start with your experience finding the land and purchasing it.
well, what do you think is like the hardest thing about finding land? Like what would be your impression?
Well, to be honest, if I were in your shoes, I probably wouldn't even know where to start. I would try to find Being an IT person, I would probably try to find an app of some kind where I can scroll through all different offers on the land. Yeah, I wouldn't even know where to start.
Good point. Where to start? Basically, what I saw, and like you, I'm IT savvy. So there is a website. There's many websites, but there are basically a few like Sumo and uh, At Home
Mm,
and
yeah.
whatever, many other Japanese websites that list not just land, but rent. If you're ever looking for an apartment, if you're looking for a mansion, standalone house, to buy a house, they literally have everything. However, to put the listing on the website, there has to be somebody who wants to sell it. Sometimes, like people have passed away, and then there's empty land that nobody's managing. Nobody's going to post it online. Those you have to find differently. But there's basically many ways to find land. Like you, I started looking on the on Sumo or At Home are the kind of the two
Mm,
websites I use the most. But the reality is, you would just type in Japanese into the search browser of like chuko or like used. Sorry, not. I looked for old houses first, so chuko, and then like jitaku or something like that for a house, and or tochi, which is like land. So
mm-hmm.
you can look for land for sale, and it's not hard to find. The challenge, I think, is first, which maybe doesn't come to your mind because you're living somewhere, it's where do you want to buy the land? And I think that's maybe the first challenge.
Yeah.
As a renter, you're enjoying the luxury of spending really high amounts on rent, but you have the flexibility of leaving anytime. If you buy land, you kind of own the land. And if you're committed to building something on top of it, that becomes your kind of asset, which was, we talked briefly before, it's
Yeah.
not really even an asset. So you have to really commit to the location.
It would be an asset
So
in a different country, but probably not in Japan.
yeah, for reasons we can talk about, but to stick to the land, essentially, we started our search in Karuizawa. The conditions were we wanted to find a place where the land is not so expensive, because essentially, when you, in Japan, anything within Tokyo is either going to get picked up really quick by
Mm.
somebody like who's already been looking for a long time. It could also be not even listed on the market because, for example, there's a lot of like tightly woven connections where a new railroad is built, for example, and land around the train station is more expensive. So quickly they get the contracts shared amongst people that already have money, and then the really nice land gets taken first, and then little by little, the strange shapes or like the less desirable locations, you could be like have the back of your house to the graveyard, which actually doesn't bother Japanese people, but it kind of bothers me.
And also, land
So
would be tiny, right? Like the closer it is to Tokyo, the smaller the land is, the higher the price, obviously.
yeah, to give you an example, like somebody that I know bought land for 65 million yen, or I think 60 or 65 million yen, and it was a very, very small, slim, like narrow length of land, and on which they built like a house that's worth around 15 million yen, which was like a three-story house,
Right.
but it was so narrow that I think it's quite difficult to, I don't know, like enjoy living there. You only do that kind of purchase in order to, well, one, that land is kind of an asset because it probably will appreciate since Tokyo is so popular. But on the other hand, the house on it won't appreciate, but it doesn't
Mm,
matter. So it's kind of like a, what do you really want to do with the land that you buy? And in their case, they built the house and then they kind of they live in there, and it's a really convenient location. But the
right.
land and the surrounding qualities are just not really great. So it's tough, in my opinion, to find good land at a good price in Tokyo. I didn't even try,
Do
to be
you
honest.
actually buy a land, or do you lease it for a period of time?
So this is something that we got to see like when signing the contract for the land that we did end up buying. But all land that's for sale is all like written up in the municipality, and
Mm.
like when you buy it, you can actually see who has owned it for like I don't know, many, many years before. There's like one of the stories that I'll get to is we were shocked to discover who basically owned the
Mm-hmm.
land before. But essentially, finding the location, I think, is the hardest part. And in our case, I still wanted to be close enough to Tokyo that I could get there within like 1 or 2 hours, but also live somewhere that's not just around Tokyo. Like, I didn't want to live in a place that is catering to Tokyo. For example, you might live maybe like half an hour away from Tokyo, which is really close by like a direct, really fast train. But there's nobody that like hangs out around the place that you live.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Maybe you found that you lived in Chiba, right?
Yeah.
Like, was there anything around where you lived? And like, can you tell me a bit more about that location?
Yeah. So for the context, I lived in Ichikawa, which is pretty much just across the river from Tokyo. And my experience was that it's, as you said, it's pretty much a satellite to Tokyo, right? So if you want to join any activity, you would hop on the train and just go to Tokyo, more or less. There would be some like local, obviously, izakayas and stuff, some clubs, government owned, but compared to Tokyo, it's really nothing, and just the proximity to Tokyo makes it kind of like renders it almost useless to try and find something in the walking
Well, a
distance.
lot of people but do that. They buy houses a little bit outside of Tokyo, or rent or whatever. They make it like their castle. They block the land with like a wall, and then they put like nice trees and illumination. So when you look out the window, you see the tree,
Yeah.
but not the, I don't know, field of cars or concrete beyond it. My thought was it's like a weak middle solution, which is you're kind of out of Tokyo because you don't want to spend money on the expensive land there, but you're not actually close enough to nature, those kind of things, to like enjoy the local
Yeah,
environment.
it's almost like
So I wanted
virtual
to avoid
reality,
that.
right?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wanted to avoid that very much. So on the way to Tokyo, there is a station called Hachioji, which is
Mm-hmm.
actually probably nice. Like, I didn't really go too deep into looking at it. And you could live there and be really close to Tokyo, I think about an hour. But I wanted to go further than that because even in Hachioji, I think a lot of people take the express train to
Mm-hmm.
Shinjuku in order to get like to their work.
Right.
So I wanted to cut off.
So you
For me,
wanted
that's
nice, nice views, right?
exactly.
Being closer to nature, but at the same time, not being too close to Tokyo, right? So it's a good kind of middle ground.
It's a really tough, like, everyone's got the same idea. It's almost like betting on a stock. Like, and the first thing that comes to mind is Karuizawa. Karuizawa, it's like is it I don't know,
It's a,
Hamptons in the US maybe? Or New Jersey?
I would,
Like, I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, I wouldn't know, but my impression of Kurosawa, it's a little bit posh. So there's a lot of rich people living there. Uh,
Yeah. I thought I'd skip the whole buying a house in Tokyo and the second house in Karuizawa, and I would just get the second house in Karuizawa and just forgo the house in Tokyo. However, when looking into it, there's a few challenges. One of them is you have to always take the train, the Shinkansen,
mhm.
which it's because it's not a normal train, you have to pay a lot more. It would be like, I think, maybe like ichiman yen per one way, maybe a little bit more, a little less. But basically, it's not cheap to enter and leave the city. The entire place is cut off, and there are really nice like restaurants there and things to do. But also, since we're having a kid, we didn't have much of a support system there. We didn't know anybody there. We didn't know who we would find there. And then when we started looking at land, it was significantly cheaper. But there was also just like, there's no other merit except for you would be in that little cooler, like temperature wise, town. And most of the people there would just be wealthy people stopping by on the weekends. So
Yeah,
the weekday infrastructure wouldn't really be as solid, and it might not be the great place to like grow up. That was my like kind
it's
of
like
conclusion.
living in a resort.
Yeah, actually, yeah, exactly. It was just like that. So, looking at that problem, I started playing around with the idea of moving
Mm.
close to where Mana's parents live,
Mm-hmm.
which is in Kofu, Yamanashi. Now, nobody really thinks about like I want to move in closer to my parents like maybe right away, or at least that wasn't my first like intention. We were both kind of against the idea initially because it's kind of close. But once I saw once I saw my friend's kid, and I saw him raising his kid like by himself with his wife in a small apartment,
Right.
I thought, oh my God,
I
I'm
will
gonna
need
need
help.
help. Yeah, I'm like, let's endure this. And so we started looking at land in Yamanashi. And it wasn't like a direct like A to B transition. We weren't like, oh, Karuizawa, then Yamanashi. It just so happened that we had two thoughts. One is we want support from parents. And the other thought is we want to live close to nature. And we didn't start with Kofu Yamanashi, but actually Hokuto, because Hokuto-shi is actually the Karuizawa. It's like Karuizawa-ish, and there are people that move there for their like second house. But one thing that it's lacking with a lot of other inaka cities in Japan is infrastructure, and so
Yeah.
we
So
wanted to make sure there's infrastructure there.
for the context, Hokuto is a little bit further away, a little bit kind of closer to the mountains, like higher altitude-wise.
Yes. So Japan is basically mountains in the center leading to the shore. And when it's leading to the shore, it's flat. And when it's mountains, it's very rocky and like there's valleys and stuff. Yamanashi is a strange place. It's called the Bonchi, which is like what do you call it? It's like a valley. Well, not like a valley, but like an enclosed valley
Right.
because it's surrounded by mountains on all three sides. It's kind of like a triangle with the top mountain range and then the two side ones being different mountain ranges. I forgot the name. But if you go a little bit to the left from the mountain range, you will be able to get to like Nagano and Hakuba and those other snowboarding famous places. And on the way there, there's a small town called Hokutoshi, which is also in between the mountains, but slightly elevated, so a little bit cooler, having similar kind of qualities like Karuizawa. So, I mean, we're not even getting to the land yet.
Except for the posh people.
Except well, there might be still some posh people, but I feel like it's more like nature-oriented people that run their own small businesses, run their own small businesses. And we eventually basically came back with like, okay, somehow her parents have found the best place. Kind of, we looked all around like the Kofu area to see other places, to see other qualities, but we ended up looking at this one area. And in this particular area, the quality that was good is it's really close to the station. So if we ever need to get to Tokyo, we can just drive like a few kilometers to get to the station and then take the express train to Tokyo. It's also directly connected to the like mountain range. So if we ever want to get out of this city, which Kofu is a very lightly spoken city, it's easy to also get out of town basically. And there's schools around us, there's like shopping, like whatever really we need that's not too luxurious, we've got here. And that was kind of the beginning of the search.
I would like to see a government-sponsored ad of Kofu narrated by you, because I think you're doing a pretty good job.
Well, I mean, I think it takes a certain kind of situation to make somebody want to come here.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of merit, and that's kind of what I want to highlight with our chat, because for the right person, this place is amazing. For the like a bachelor or somebody that's single, no family, wants to maybe hang out in the evenings, like this is not the place.
Yeah.
This is don't come here.
Yeah. That's fair enough. So you probably need to be able to work remotely, right? Especially if you're a foreigner, because it would be quite difficult to find anything there.
I think the spending power in this area is quite low, so I think it's very difficult to get stores to like open up and cater, because the prices there are just like, I don't know, the prices of food and going to a restaurant is lower on average than Tokyo, with the volume of food being higher because people are more, they expect more basically. In Tokyo, you can get away with like a fancy looking place but crappy food. So I don't think, I mean, I'm sure there's cheap food and crappy food, but if it's expensive here, like the food that they try to sell you is expensive, then it has to generally be good, or else probably won't fly. Nobody will go. Um, Back to the land.
Mm-hmm.
There are 60 plots. There are 60 plots listed on the website, and I went through all of them.
So was it like? So was it like you just like endlessly scrolling through the app and?
Well,
Was it
unfortunately,
like,
it was only 3 pages worth of scrolling, so I wish it was endless. Um, I scrolled through the what's it called, the 60 listings,
mm-hmm.
maybe in like an hour,
Yeah,
maybe an hour and a half. But since the time I first did it, I might have scrolled through it like I might have spent like hours like looking at photos and studying them. I wasn't in Kofu at the time, so I was actually in Yokohama with my wife in our apartment. But I was trying to figure out like I switched my Google Maps to like terrain view so I can see like
yeah,
what it looks like from the from the sky, and basically try to understand this area. Like, what are the qualities? What's the roads? What are the roads like? I didn't think roads are that important until you actually drive around here and you find that there are some land locations that are just beyond inaccessible. Like, it's really hard to get through the narrow
and
street.
and you have to drive around if you live in Kofu, right?
You have to drive.
Yeah,
This is not. There's
it's not
no
like
way.
Tokyo where you can get away with just using the public transportation system.
No, you can use the bus, but it's a little bit less reliable
Right.
than you might want. And the first thing you would want to do moving here is get a car. So this is just, you have to have a car. If you're not in Tokyo, if you're not in Yokohama or one of the big cities, you need a car. That's like
Yeah.
the bottom line.
Yeah, that's fair.
So in the 60 listings, um, a few of them jumped out to me. There was this one listing that was really large, with a big view onto Fuji Mountain. Like, it was, there was like the grape vineyards below it, and you can see Fuji in the background. It was really sick, and it was big, and it was kind of expensive at like
Sounds amazing.
15 million yen, which is very cheap for any land that you would consider in like Tokyo, for example. But for Yamanashi, it's really expensive. I think the average amount people spend on land here is 5 million yen. So
Wow.
it's like 3 times the price.
Wow.
So that was one of the first lands we considered. We can call it the Fuji View land.
Was that expensive because of the view?
The person that the land was undeveloped first, and the person that owned the land was also happened to be a real estate agent somehow, and he developed the land to be sold. So he created a little urban area around it, and that particular land was on the very edge, and somehow beyond the edge there was like a drop of like 4 meters, and there was just a bunch of grape vineyards below. So the view itself was really good, and he even said when I met him that that he was imagining somebody to build a house there with Sumitomo Ringyo, which is the house builder that we were going to go with. So I was
Right.
like, sick, this guy's vision, my idea, let's do this. And the other thing about this guy, which was really interesting, he was 94 years old. So
So
the
you wanted to
landowner-
close the deal as fast as you could, right?
I mean, I was just, I don't know what he was selling it for, but I think he was really a businessman. Like, he was very, even like at 94, he was very motivated
Right.
to do stuff, which is probably why he was so healthy. When I saw him, I was just like, we agreed to meet on the land because it was relatively close to where Mana's parents' house is, my wife's parents' house. And when I go there, I see this old guy with this like very typical U.S. Navy styled cap, and smoking a cigarette on his land, technically fair enough. And then I'm just like, is this person just wandering the streets, or is this the real estate guy? Because he doesn't look like a real estate guy, not like a typical one that I've seen before.
But didn't you
And-
tell me that he was also the real estate guy?
Yeah. He's the real estate guy. He's also the developer for the land, and he's the land owner. So like, he was
Three in
all
one.
three. I was like, yeah, it was. It really felt like a good find. I was like, first land we see, it's well made, everything looks really clean, It's really big. It's like 260 tsubo.
Oh
Yeah,
wow,
it was like 200,
that's a lot.
260 tsubo. Yeah, I don't really know what's in meters, but I think at least 500 square meters.
I'll put it on the screen,
Um, yeah.
whatever it
So
is.
basically, I had no concerns. I was like, it's a little expensive, but like, let's make a one-story house. That was our first idea. Because the land is so big,
Mm-hmm.
we can use the positive qualities of like looking onto Fuji, blah, blah, blah. But then the first concern actually came from the housemaker. This is not something that maybe people fully understand when they start the search, but when you build a house, you also deal with the housemaking company or jutaku maker. And their agent, who is selling you their house, can also help you with the land. And that was really, really valuable. Um,
Mm.
it's kind of like having an outside party that is also there to kind of protect you. Their motivation is they want to sell you the house, but they also don't want your house to get fucked up. If it does, what will happen is they will look bad, right? So they also kind of check the land. And when they checked the land, they said, I don't think we can build here because the municipality didn't give the green light. He didn't get the approval to modify the land the way that he
Oh,
did from the municipality.
thank God you
We
had
were,
them.
yeah, and when we found that out, we were like, okay, but what does that mean? And he actually did it correctly, but in this super gray zone area, which to me
Uh-huh.
was like, I was kind of skeptical after that point. But basically, if you're building a wall, a retaining wall, which is what there was, it was 4 meters high. It needs to be structurally sound. But what he did is he kept the bottom retaining wall and just built a small retaining wall on top. But then
Oh, I
nobody was
see.
able to certify it as like structurally sound because you don't know like what will happen. You have to
So
usually build one wall and
an
then they can
earthquake
verify.
comes and it just topples over.
Yes. The way he got around it is that there is this strange rule of like if you take what's it called, the edge of your land and like use I think 70-degree angle, and then if you build a house that's 70 degrees like I don't know away from the
Projection.
edge, yeah,
So you sort of
like if
project it on the land, right? Yeah.
yeah, let's say this is the edge. There's
Mm.
like a 70-degree angle. If you build your house up to here,
Mm.
then this doesn't have to be structurally sound. Even if it collapses, the house will be okay.
Oh, I
That's
see.
the logic. But it's a super gray area, and it was not an area that I wanted to enter. And anyway, there's a 4 meter drop from the land. Like imagine some
Yeah.
kid just jumps over, miscalculates, or you kick a
Yeah.
soccer ball. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do that,
Um,
especially if you're spending like 3 times the amount of money.
yeah. So we gave up on that land, and I was like,
Mm.
okay, fine. That was the first land. And you think there's 60 places. How bad could it be? The next land we considered was, I don't even remember. It's like really close to her parents' house, like
Mhm.
almost too close. It's this really wide land as well. It's not as big as the 250 tsuba one, but it was about 100 and I think 80. And essentially, it's on this road corner. So cars are passing around it, but it's kind of like no buildings will be around it. So it has a nice kind of view. You can't really get like a big view because there's a lot of houses around it, but I mean, like, not in the direct sight, but like a little bit away. And it's not so elevated, but it was solid. There's like a little natural part where you can make a garden. There's a part where there's an old house on it. We actually know the landowner because
Mm.
this person is like in the neighborhood. And so we went up to her and we asked, oh, like you're selling this land. We saw this listing. It was around, I think, 9 million yen, or like actually 10 million yen, I think. So still like more expensive than the average, but because it is a lot of land, I thought, okay. We talked to her and she said that she listed it because her husband passed away. And once a person passes away, they inherit the land, and she didn't have anything
Oh.
she needed to do with the land. So she was like, whatever, like, I'm selling it. But then she explained, and I didn't fully understand this in the beginning, that it's not her selling the land, that she already sold the land, but she can't give the land to the person she sold it to yet because it takes like 40 to 80 days for the rights to pass from one person to another, and then they're still in the like a mourning period for the husband, so the rights haven't been passed on to her.
Well,
But
that's
this other
strange.
person, it's a very strange thing. But I was like, okay, like like who knows what's going on? But like, okay, this other person made the listing and is selling the land, even though they just bought the land from her. I'm like, fine. And then we're like, who's this other person? And we don't really talk about it with her. We just leave it to our house builder, because the house builder is helping us find the land now, because they were helping us from the beginning. Like we were trying to like lean on the agent's support, and we were like, okay, so like we're interested in this land. Can you just check like what's going on and like if it's okay from this other person? We had to have a meeting with the house builder
So,
because
so hold on a
there was,
second.
yeah.
Just for my understanding, so she had sold the land to another person, and was she selling it to you on behalf of that other person then, or how did that work?
It was more like my impression was incorrect. We knew she was the landowner. Technically, it was her husband. But
Oh,
because he passed away, she got the rights, and then she sold the rights to the
oh,
person. She already received the money, but he will get the rights automatically,
right.
like once they're passed. So it's kind of like this limbo state. But technically, this other person became the landowner. So we needed to negotiate with him. We're like, okay, there's still a house on top. There's also one more quality, which
That
is
sounds like a
really,
scam.
it sounds like a scam, but honestly speaking, at the beginning, it wasn't. Uh, More on that later. There's also one more quality to that land. Because it's so old, the house and everything on it, there was a time where there was no water piping to that area. So the municipality
Right.
installed a water tank with firefighting water that nobody has opened for like 60 years, it feels. Like it's
And
really
just
murky in
so
there.
just so that, everyone listening to this can picture it, the water tank was actually underground.
It was basically baked into it was like yeah, baked into the ground with a little manhole opening at the top. We didn't know if it was even connected to the water system. Like, is this just a feature or is this a bug? So we found out later that the municipality owns it. So if we want to remove it,
Right.
they have to remove it. So I was like, oh my God, this land is getting complicated. But it's like a really nice kind of land. It had some nice qualities. When we met with our housemaker, they basically said like, I don't think we can get this land. I'm like, what do you mean? Like this other person, they bought it from the grandma. They want to
Yeah.
sell it, obviously. They listed it. They're like, this other person is a local criminal. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean? How? There was a story, and actually, like,
And by
this
a
is
local
so
criminal,
crazy.
just for everyone's understanding, they mean a member of Yakuza, or is he?
No,
Okay.
no, not a Yakuza member. He is a genuine local criminal, a person who has been to jail
Wow.
because they owned a company that was something about like dealing with trash, or sorry, some kind of refinement company in Hokutoshi. And they were illegally dumping trash in the like nature area,
Oh
their own
man.
trash, and they pretended that they were legally dumping other people's trash. So they created these 1 million yen tickets, and then they sold it to like a bunch of people, a bunch of
Oh.
companies, worth 40 million yen. And then this guy got 40 million yen and illegally dumped all of their stuff. And
Oh
then eventually it
man.
was caught and he went to jail. And he shouldn't be allowed to buy this land, but he bought it through his wife.
Oh man, this is getting more and more complicated. And by the way, like I would love to one day have an episode on just the 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 trash system in
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Japan.
for sure.
Yeah,
Well, the big rule is you can't just illegally dump trash
you
in the
genuinely
nature
have to buy
preserves.
a ticket from the municipality to
Yeah,
dispose of something
especially
large.
like
Yeah,
what do you call it, like factory trash or
yeah.
like those kind. So anyway, first I'm like, I'm not. I hate the idea of buying land from this man. First of all, second of all, I hate the idea that my money is gonna go like if it was from the grandma, like it'd be cool. I'd be helping her out.
Yeah.
But it's this guy who literally bought it from the grandma probably much cheaper than what I bought. I'm like, I can't like let this man suffer with this land because there's lots of problems with it anyway. So I gave up on that land. That was the second land. We'll call it the scammer's land.
That wasn't the end of
So
it.
there's so many lands. There was another land. I like to call it the pyramid land because essentially it looks like a pyramid. Pop up a photo. Basically, there is this area near our place which is slightly elevated, and it's got like a really nice view. It's maybe like a minute or two driving up the side of the mountain, so it's not too far. It doesn't really get like instead of getting to a main road in like 2 minutes, it takes like 4 or 6 minutes depending on where you go. And I thought, okay, let's get a land with a view. To be fair, this land, there's nothing illegal with it. It was fine. There's nothing wrong with this land. Except, of course, nobody's bought this land for 30 years. And I was like, why? I didn't know anything about land at the time, so I was a little bit naive. I was thinking like, if I walk to this place, and if it's not too bad, maybe it's okay still. Maybe I can enjoy the fact that I'm a little bit away from the city. I have a nice view on the town, and like it's a little bit secluded. But you got to climb like 18 stairs to get to your front door. I didn't think about any of the logistics of like getting deliveries, moving the furniture, building the actual house, but like this land existed on this 18 steps like solid rock plateau, and climbing it, I was like, after one
But
climb,
the
I was
upside,
like, I cannot live here.
the upside is you get to feel like a pharaoh.
I get to feel like a pharaoh, and I might also die there because, or be the healthiest man. I don't know. Like, it was the cheapest land we ever found. It was, I think, 100 man or 1 million yen.
For a
So,
good reason, yeah.
yeah, it was so unpurchased that there was a small forest growing on top of the land.
Oh, wow.
Those trees were not like 5 years old. They were like 30-year-old trees. So intelligently, I decided like, okay, maybe there's a reason why it's empty. Along the same vein, I was like, let me try this other land, which isn't even listed. I found it by looking on Google Maps. And this land wasn't even listed. It also has a forest growing on top, but it was really nice. It was like, it has a really good view. It's a little bit far from the center of the city, but like maybe the view will make up for it. I look at the concrete on the outside, and I kind of realize why it's maybe not listed. There is a massive crack in the middle of the cement that is kind of holding the earth to the side of the mountain, and it's kind of like a little bit pushing this way. Not to say anything bad would happen, but something bad could happen.
Yeah, but had you
I don't want to build something
had you had the audacity to actually build a house on top of it, it might have cracked open.
So, to be fair, that land wasn't listed, so we don't need to add it to our list of 3 lands that are unbuyable. But like 3 out of 60 lands we checked out. The next land, it's just endless. The next land.
It's going to be a long episode.
Oh, it's gonna be a long episode. The next land was actually quite nice. It was a really big, I think also like either like 280 tsubo, again more than 500 square meters, and it was actually a decent shape. It had an interesting quality to it because the sand, or like the first kind of the flat part, you could just park your car there. There wasn't anything you had to do. And then there were some like retaining wall rocks, which I checked, and they're like sturdy, like no earthquakes moving them, it's fine. The one problem was that there's a house on it, a 1-story, like one flat, 1-story house, and you would need to tear it down. The land was like 11 million, and I checked how much the tearing down would cost, and it would be quite substantial, but I was like, maybe if like the total is 15 million, I'd be willing to bear it. But when we started looking in deeper, there's no criminals this time, but there is an interesting regulation. So there are regulations that the city has. As they get updated, people have to update their homes, right? But if you already live in a house and the regulation changes, you're not liable to change anything because you were just living there, right? But the next person then has to do it.
We'll have to
There's a
update it.
road. Yeah. There's a road in the back of the house. It's like too narrow and it needs to be widened a little bit towards the side of the area where the house is, which is okay. And it needs to be widened the other way. I checked with our housemaker, and they're so Japanese. When we talked about this topic, they basically invited us to another meeting. Every time there's a meeting, it's bad. And they were like, without telling us, like, no, you can't do it, they're like, you can do it. First, you would need to destroy this wall. Second, you would need to widen it. If you widen it temporarily with just dirt, it will pass the requirement from the city, and then it's cheaper. If you want to do it properly, you have to like insert like cement and rocks and whatever, and it's
Right.
going to cost a lot more. I'm like, okay, so like how much is the cheaper one? This was an hour-long conversation. Because they were explaining like the technical ways of how they would do it.
Look, everything is an hour-long conversation, at least in Japan.
Yeah, I mean, they could just come out and be like, it will cost you 2 million yen
Yeah.
to do this construction on top of demolishing the house for like 3 million. And then also the land is 11. So then it's like going to reach 20 million at some point, surprise construction costs as well.
Jesus.
And they were like, no, we're not going to do this. What? You could just lead with that. So then that also we chose not to do. That was I don't know what to call that land. That land was like the land, I would say with a view, but like there's other lands with views. We'll call it the widening road land. So we got the pyramid land, the widening road land, the scammers guy land, and
What's the next chapter in your book on
Fuji
the
View land.
Fuji View?
The next chapter, okay, by this time, we're slowly starting to realize there are no nice looking lands available. We're looking at like almost demolished housing, and then there was maybe like one or two other houses we checked out that maybe we could renovate or demolish, but renovating and demolishing is really, really painful. Like I had no interest in that kind of approach. So I just wanted the land. Just wanted the land. There was a land that was a little bit closer to the river. It was really convenient to the main road while also not being too busy. So you could easily get to the city, and at the same time, if you look at the front, you kind of get to see the river. There's nothing wrong with the land. It's a little bit small, but it's fine.
You know, every time you say that there was nothing wrong with the land, there's something wrong with the land.
This time, there was nothing wrong with the land. But
What
when
was
we
it?
looked at Google Maps, on the right side of the land, there was this strange, like, trail, like, I don't know, how do you say, like a container that was 3 containers stacked on top of each other,
Interesting.
which didn't look safe. And I was like, what? I don't know what this is. There was some, like, strange, like, house with, like, nice car in the entrance, but the house looks like it's, like, from, I don't know, Mad Max Fury Road. Like, I don't know, like, it looks like it's put together
Right.
in the Borderlands or something.
More like a shed.
It's just like it's made up of other houses. Like, I don't know. It just looks like a strange place.
Okay.
And so, like, I asked my wife's dad, like, oh, what do you think of this land? And then he's like, oh, you probably don't want to get that land. It's next to the local local Yakuza group.
Finally. There's Yakuza.
There is a group called, it's not, so Yakuza is like full, like I guess kind of mafia, but there's Bonetsudan, or I'll throw up the word later, but basically it's like a local mischief group or something like that. It's not as bad, but they cause trouble. And honestly, like, I don't think living next to them is the goal. Looking at the area again, there was like a really nice house that was across from that weird thing that's like very walled. It looks like a traditional Japanese samurai house. Like, I don't know what to call it, but like maybe those people live in there.
There may or may not be some connection, yeah.
There might not be. Like, I don't know. It's just speculation, but I was like, okay, maybe. maybe this is not the one. So I gave up on that pretty quick. So that's good. I mean, it's getting quicker instead of doing many weeks of like inspections. Then, then the next one. I was looking at their house, at that latest one. We'll call it the, what's it called? We'll call it the Mafia house. Yeah, let's call it the Mafia house. Then I look across from it, and there's a like neighborhood that's kind of separated by a cliff. And if you go up from the main road, you can kind of see there's one plot of land that's not, like, how do you say, like, it's not great in the sense of it's not too big, like there's not such a nice view, but there's one side where you can look off the cliff and then get a good view of like the town or whatever. So it's pretty decent. It's a little bit annoying that it's on the hill, meaning like if you ever wanted to like walk up it or take the bike, it would be a lot of work. But I'm like, okay, we can drive. We can like get stronger calves to climb this mountain. And
You had a chance with the pyramid.
not that desperate, not yet. I wasn't. But we start looking into it. It's kind of like sandwiched between two buildings, but like one side looks good, and maybe it won't be so hot in the summer, and like it's really cheap, like I think 3 million yen, and it's not too large, but it is large enough. I don't remember the size anymore. We talk to our housemaker and we ask, what's wrong with this land?
There must be something. Like if you choose a piece of land, there must be something wrong with it, right?
Well, you like out of 60, like we were picking the best lands out of 60. Like, I'm not saying all the lands are bad, but like 5 of them had serious problems, like serious problems. This was the 6th, I think, at that point. And so we're like, what's wrong with this land? They're like, there's nothing wrong with the land, but it was previously owned by the Yakuza, which is not a good sign. Because, of course, I think there was some kind of article that they showed to me, but it was like a person. That person was no longer alive, and they actually sold the land to the neighbor. But like, I don't know this. Who would buy the land from the Yakuza? Well, their logic was like, if a person bought it from the Yakuza, then they might be related to the Yakuza without proof.
Yeah, that's
so
fair.
If you're going to buy the land from them, maybe that's not the best thing. That was kind of their position. They're like, you can do it. But I was like, okay, fine. Let's not do that.
So was that the end of your adventures?
No. I looked all around. I looked outside that area. There were other areas. I looked at the land close by the river. There's nothing wrong with it, but like, it's just not that good. Like land, there's many different land qualities. And if you're by the river, the soil might be kind of weak. So then you have to reinforce it. And if there's a risk of flooding, it's always like those kind of issues. I really wanted a place that was like, in terms of solid ground, like I wanted it to have solid ground, but also no risk of like falling off the edge of the cliff kind of situation. So I waited, and there was one land we saw, like visually, but we already knew it was purchased by somebody. Suddenly, we get a call from our housemaker, and they're like, actually, it seems like the loan didn't go through for the person that purchased this land that you looked at. And it was a really reasonable price. It was like, I think, 8 million yen. And without any negotiating, I was like, I can't deal with this anymore. Let's go for this land, because the shape was decent. It was flat. It hit all the criteria. And it was a really nice piece of land. It was just bought by this other person.
Had you actually seen the land by then, or did you
and I've
just
seen the land
pull the
before,
trigger?
so I didn't even need to like go visit Yamanashi again. This whole time, by the way, I'm visiting Yamanashi from Yokohama.
Right.
So every visit, I'm trying to see all these lands and learning that they're Yakuza or criminals or something. It's been very, very tough. But that is kind of like the nature of looking for land in the rural Japan. I don't think there's any land that is really good. It's just, it has some problems that you have to be okay with. And we really figured out what we wanted by the end of that kind of journey. And we probably could have negotiated a little bit for the land but I was just like, I think I was so done. I just wanted to make sure that we secured it because it was such a good kind of fit for what we wanted. Yeah, but basically, it fits our initial idea of a
Mm.
one-story house, which is of course not what we ended up doing in the end, but that's another story. But because it didn't kind of like we didn't have there was like no hiccups from that point on. Once we saw the other lands, we understood. We were like, this is a good land. It was recently like renovated by a land purchasing company or whatever, like an agency that buys up plots of land and then refurbishes it for
Yeah.
the sale.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was kind of the short, the really short
Well,
version
it
of.
wasn't that short, right? Like how long did it take you end to end?
I think it took us like 4 months.
4 months.
It's not. It's not the time that was. I was. It was just a very intense period. Usually,
Yeah.
if you take a long time, land might pop up and disappear.
Right.
But when you're Inaka, all the land that's there, it's basically there. There's not really much going on. The mobility of plots of land that are for sale is quite low. So if it doesn't exist, like unless someone passes away and then they own some like farm that they don't want to
Mm.
manage and they
Mm.
are going to convert that farmland into residential land, it's not really happening. After getting the land, I talked about like what was it like for my wife's father and his grandfather, and what I learned was apparently her grandfather wanted he's the second son, so he wanted to get his own house. When you're the
Mm-hmm.
second son, you don't get to inherit the land of your father. Your first son does. So he was the first one to move to this area. And when he moved, there was two houses here, which is insane. I don't have a photo, unfortunately, but that just basically rice land, rice farms or whatever, unused
Compared to
land, and
now,
just
where there's like hundreds and hundreds.
yeah, there's a tons of housing around here. It's kind of like a suburban area, but the big difference is like he couldn't imagine what would happen, and then
Mm.
things got built around. But now it's very saturated. The only thing that can be built more would be like if a farm if a farm like a rice paddy or something is converted to residential, which happens, but not really. Like there's enough old buildings that can also be demolished.
Yeah.
So there's just kind of this weird like um, supply of empty like how do you say undeveloped land, which then you
Mm-hmm.
have to like dig up the dirt, put in new dirt,
Mm-hmm.
put in like water piping and whatever, which also costs money, or old houses you have to
Yeah.
demolish and then throw away, which also costs money.
Yeah.
So there's no really good solution except like in our case a house like a land I don't even know what to call them, like a land developer
Mm-hmm.
purchase the land and then makes little plots and tries to sell them. I think that's like a common kind of thing to do here.
I think it's probably a good point to wrap up because
Yeah,
the story is quite comprehensive.
like I said before, I found a lot of people in Kofu that are really enjoying their life here, which seems impossible, like to come from Tokyo into this rural area, but find like-minded people that want to be closer to nature, but also live like a corporate life. But they exist, and I'm happy to be one of them.